And I started chaffinches and sparrows. Let's going to continue with our story. Let's see if we can finish it today. We were seeing how the Air Force and the army, they were going to try to go to get the giants. Will they do it? Let's see. Our chapter today is called Capture. The BFG had made thousands of journeys to and from giant country over the years, but he had never in his life made one quite like this, with 9 huge helicopters roaring along just over his head. He had never before travelled in broad daylight either. He hadn't dared to, but this was different. Now he was doing it for the Queen of England herself, and he was frightened of nobody. As he galloped across the British Isles, with the helicopter thundering above him, people stood and gaped and wondered what on earth was going on. They had never seen the likes of it before, and they never would again. Every now and then, the pilots of the helicopters would catch a glimpse of a small girl wearing glasses crouching in the giant's right ear and waving to them. They always waved back. The pilots marveled at the giant's speed and at the way he leaped across wide rivers and over huge houses. But they hadn't seen anything yet. "Be careful to hang on tight," the BFG said. "We is going fast as a thistle crumb." The BFG changed into his famous top gear, and all at once he began to fly forward as though there were springs in his legs and rockets in his toes. He went skimming over the earth like some magical hop, skip and jumper, with his feet hardly ever touching the ground. As usual, Sophie had to crouch low in the crevice of his ears to save herself from being swept clean away. The 9 pilots in their helicopter suddenly realized they were being left behind. The giant was striking ahead. They opened their throttles to full speed, and even then they were only just able to keep up. In the leading machine, the head of the Air Force was sitting beside the pilot. He had a world atlas on his knees, and he kept staring first at the atlas, then at the ground below, trying to figure out where they were going. Frantically, he turned the pages of the atlas. "Where the devil are we going?" he cried. "I haven't the foggiest idea," the pilot said. "The Queen's order, we're to follow the giant, and that's exactly what we're doing." The pilot was a young Air Force officer with a blushing moustache. He was very proud of his moustache. He was also quite fearless, and he loved adventure. He thought this was a super adventure. "It's fun going to new places," he said. "New places?" shouted the head of the Air Force. "What the blazes you mean, new places?" "This place we're flying over now, isn't it the Atlas, is it?" the pilot said, grinning. "You're darn right it isn't it in the Atlas?" cried the head of the Air Force. "We've flown clear of the last page." "I expect that old giant knows where he's going," the young pilot said. "He's leading us to a disaster," cried the head of the Air Force. He was shaking with fear. In the seat behind him sat the head of the army, who was even more terrified. "You don't mean to tell me we've gone right out of the Atlas?" he cried, leaning forward to look. "That's exactly what I'm telling you," cried the Air Force man. "Look for yourself. Here's the very last map in the whole flaming Atlas. We went off that over an hour ago." He turned the page. As in all atlases, there were 2 completely blank pages in the very end. So now we must be somewhere here," he said, putting a finger onto the blank pages. "Where's here?" cried the head of the army. The young pilot was still grinning broadly. He said to them, That's why they always put 2 blank pages at the back of the atlas. There, they are 4 new countries. You meant to fill them in yourself. The head of the Air Force glanced down at the ground below. Just look at this God-forsaken desert, he cried. All the trees are dead and all the rocks are blue. The giants has stopped, the young pilot said. He's waving us down. The pilots throttled back the engines, and all 9 helicopters landed safely on the great yellow wasteland. Then each of them lowered a ramp from its belly. 9 jeeps, one from each helicopter, were driving down the ramps. Each jeep contained 6 soldiers and a vast quantity of thick rope and heavy chains. I don't see any giants, the head of the army said. The giants is all just out of sight over there. Oh, that's the BFG, sorry. The giants is all just out of sight over there, the BFG told him. But if you is taking these lost blackly noisy belly poppers any closer, all the giants is waking up at once, and then pop goes the whistle. So, you want us to proceed by jeep? The head of the army said. Yes, the BFG said, but you must all be very, very hushy quiet. No roaring of motors, no shouting, not mucking about, no pickery-jackery. The BFG, with Sophie still in his ear, trotted forward and Jeps followed close behind. Suddenly, the most dreadful rumbling noise was heard by everyone. The head of the army went pea-green in the face. Those are guns, he cried. There is a battle bragging somewhere up ahead us. Turn back, the lot of you. Let's get out of here. Big squiffle, the BFG said. Those noises is not guns. Of course they are guns, shouted the head of the army. I am a military man and I know a gun when I hear one. Turn back. Those is just the giants snorkeling in their sleep, the BFG said. I is a giant myself and I know a giant snorkel when I is hearing one. Are you quite sure? The army man said anxiously. Positive, the BFG said. Proceed cautiously, the army man ordered. They all moved on. Then they saw them. Even at a distance, they were enough to scare the daylights out of the soldiers. But when they got close and saw what the giants really looked like, they began to sweat with fear. 9 fearsome, ugly, half-naked, 50 feet long brutes lay sprawled over the ground in various grotesque attitudes of sleep, and the sound of their snoring was indeed like a gunfire in a battle. The BFG raised a hand. The jeeps all stopped. The soldiers go out. What happens if one of them wakes up? Whispered the head of the army, his knees knocking together from fear. If any of one of them is waking up, he will gobble you up. Right before you can say a neckerchief, the BFG answered, grinning hugely. Me is the only one that won't be gobbled up because giants is never eating giants. Me and Sophie is the only safe ones because I is hiding her in if that happens. The head of the army took several paces to the rear. So did the head of the Air Force. They climbed rather quickly back into their jeep, ready to make a fast getaway if necessary. Go forward, men, the head of the army said. Go forward and do your duty bravely. The soldiers crept forward with their ropes and chains. All of them were trembling mightily. None dared to speak a word. What will they do? Will they be able to eat them, to get them, or will they eat them? Let's see if they can capture them. We will see tomorrow because there is still a few more pages. Okay? We continue tomorrow. Have a lovely evening, everyone. Adios.